Welcome to Paul's Perspective. Hemant Mehta, known as the Friendly Atheist on YouTube, posted a video responding to a church which promotes spanking. The church follows the adage, spare the rod, spoil the child. Hemant starts off with a pretty dismissive attitude, stating,
And I am judging you if you hate your kids. And I'm not going to read your comments below saying I'm wrong because this is YouTube, which means this is a one-way flow of information.
what that says to me is he is keenly aware that many people will disagree with him, but he's resolute in his stance, which is absolutely fine. But if that's the case, wouldn't you be extremely thorough in your explanation so that you can reason people into your position instead of what he seems to do, which is shame those who are comfortable with some level of corporal punishment? My biggest issue is his lack of a definitive explanation of how and why he came to his conclusion. His almost defiant assertion that all spanking is abuse, without providing context and a demonstration that he has taken the entirety of the subject into consideration. How do we take him seriously? He doesn't make a distinction between parents who beat for pain or parents who use foreign objects and at which age they begin and stop spankings. What if any intellectual or emotional correction is provided in tandem with the spanking? All of these things matter. The best he does is to speak to the generic impacts of corporal punishment, but he never gets specific. My open questions are, what are the alternatives that he thinks are effective? He only talks about putting up a baby gate instead of spanking an infant who approaches stairways.
Here's an example of what I'm talking about. There's a part where the Pearl's 4-month-old baby girl is crawling up the stairs. So they hit her with a, quote, 12-inch long, 1/8 inch diameter sprig from a willow tree. They're using a tree branch to hit an infant for crawling. They could have just put up a baby fence, but no, tree branch for Jesus.
Does it matter what actions or behaviors are being punished or deterred? How effective is corporal punishment at deterring behavior? How effective is non-corporal punishment at deterring behavior? Wouldn't we do a comparison to those different, alternatives or those different approaches to behavioral modification? Doesn't exist in this entire piece, 19 minutes long. Also, what should a good parent do when non-corporal punishment doesn't work? He actually understands this concept very well because he calls it out in his video.
What happens when some parents hit their kids and their kids still don't listen? Because they're kids and that's what happens. The abusive parents don't react by saying, well, I guess spanking doesn't work. I should try something else now.
Again, no examples at all, no alternatives. A couple of questions I have is, how many attempts is deemed a failure? How many times do you say something to a child and they still don't respond in the way that you think that they should, and you continue with that approach? Do the situational circumstances just not matter?
I am against hitting your kids for any reason.
What if the behavior of the child is dangerous or illegal?
I think doing that to your kids is abusive, and that if you do it, it's because you're a bad parent who really never should have become a parent.
But never admits that just like with corporal punishment, if non-corporal punishment doesn't work, it's only logical to explore alternative methods. Again, what are those methods? If you feel so strongly that spanking makes you a bad parent, why wouldn't you explain what a good parent does and how it would realistically be administered in a myriad of realistic parenting situations? How do you gauge a good parent? Many times he says, any spanking makes you a bad parent. Okay, so what is the metric? Is it the behavior or obedience of the child? Is it the success of the child, be it in school, their physical health, whether or not, their career, sports, things of that nature? The happiness of the child, whether that child is happy but not well behaved or successful? The child-parent relationship, when they have open communication and the parent and the child get along very well, but there's no obedience or respect? These are all things that I think he should have taken into consideration. Does he care about the effectiveness, or is he solely concerned with the physical or emotional comfort of the child? And does he have substantial data or feedback from children who were spanked or abused? He doesn't share it. In fact, I'm being facetious because he is explicit that he doesn't even care how children who were spanked feel about their experiences.
Michael and Debbie Pearl's own children have frequently talked about how they appreciate the way they were raised and how they don't consider their parents' ideas abusive in any way. But you know what? It doesn't matter what they think. There will always be people who defend hitting kids, and they always say something like, I was spanked as a child and I turned out just fine. And the truth is, no, you didn't. You grew up to be the kind of person who justifies hitting kids. You are not fine.
It makes no sense to call something abuse, but not get significant feedback from the victims. Aren't they the best arbiter of whether or not they were abused? Especially if we're talking about kids who grow up. He never even really defines hitting. And he never makes distinctions between the different levels of physical correction or deterrence. He just plays other people's definitions/descriptions of spanking. Again, I'm expecting a full examination analysis of the dynamics of the topic. It's weird that he also doesn't spend much time at all explaining whether the vast majority of children who were spanked and at what levels they were spanked, whether they hated it, whether they hate their parents, and are emotionally distraught because of it.